Hey guys, what's up? Jules here for WhatCulture.com, joined by Adam Wilborn, and we are fresh off the heels of SummerSlam 2019. We're just chilling out here on the beach. If you catched our stream, you'd understand that we had a nice beach bash, which explains the horrible t-shirts, and actually yours was bought by... Anyway, moving on. So let's talk about the card. This was a pay-per-view that was a very mixed affair. There were some very, very impressive moments, short bursts, like sweet like Skittles on the tongue, but the majority of it felt not bad, but...
I'd say, yeah, for the most part, up until those final couple of matches, it felt like a very pay-per-view. I think we were sat here and discussing it and saying, this is meant to feel like, you know, sort of WrestleMania light. It's arguably the second biggest, although probably the Rumble, but arguably WWE's second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and a time when they really need to nail it. And aside from Dolph Ziggler getting murdered, for the most part of that main card, we were just like, yeah, it's fine. You hit the nail on the head. You said it was akin to, not in the same way, but it was almost akin to TakeOver. It wasn't bad, no, but it wasn't mind-blowingly good like we were hoping for. It was just fine. But those final couple of matches, as we will get into, just blew me out of the water. And the problem we've had for the most part of this year, and arguably for the last year or so with WWE, is we have these pay-per-views and you have these odd good matches and you go, oh, that AJ Styles match was really good, or that whoever match was really good. But the final moments of a pay-per-view are what leave the lasting taste in your mouth.
Yes.
And we go, oh, I really like that pay-per-view right up until the finish. Whereas arguably, it's the other way around. I've now come out going, you know what, SummerSlam was pretty damn great.
Yeah, so if you've got a bit of a sour taste in your mouth, hopefully we'll be able to justify why we think that is. Now, the undercard, we don't usually sort of talk about this because usually the WWE gives it as big a finger as Oney Lorcan. So let's just talk about...
Yeah, let's run through it. Drew Gulak retained his title in a match against Oney Lorcan, which was really good and was well worth going to watch if you didn't do so already. We had Buddy Murphy winning via DQ in his match against Apollo Crews. Why was he facing Apollo Crews? Sod it, he was there, I suppose.
Yep.
He was attacked by Rowan, and it's sort of in continuation of that who attacked Roman Reigns storyline. Snitches get stitches, buddy.
Yep.
And we're going to see more of that, I hope, on TV, because there wasn't really a lot of development aside from a sort of promo package, and that happening on the pre-show. We had Elias getting speared by Edge. That was great.
That was lovely,
Even though we were slightly terrified about Edge's neck with the whole thing. And unfortunately, the Iconics failed in their attempt to regain the Women's Tag Team Championships. And Wikipedia tells me that now that means Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are going to face the Kabuki Warriors for the titles on Raw tonight, I suppose, now with the time difference. Okay, fine.
That makes about as much sense as Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross teaming up in the first place. But credit where credit's due.
Buzz Lightyear.
She was dressed
infinity
and beyond. That popped us big. But let's go on to the actual main card. We kick things off with the women's Raw Raw champion Becky Lynch going up against Natalya in a submission match. Now, there was a few confusing bits about this. One, why the hell Natalya was in it, apart from the fact that Bret Hart is Canadian and therefore she's going to be in it by proxy. It wasn't a great match by any stretch of the imagination. And the stupid thing about it is that we know that Natalya is a great submission and technical wrestler. I will not have a bad word said about her. But she did not prove in the slightest that she knew anything apart from her signature move, and that was the only submission hold we really saw applied throughout the entire match.
Yeah, I was chatting to the guys in the office who've been watching it, and they said they quite enjoyed it. I felt... I don't know whether it's just we have negative opinions of Natalya. I felt 100% like it was just. I mean, the stipulations sort of backed them into a corner anyway.
Yeah.
The exchanging of submissions and sort of stealing each other's was quite nice, and it looked like Becky Lynch's arm was proper getting wrenched at one point or another. It was nothing to write home about. It's a match I will instantly forget.
Yes.
Becky Lynch retained. As Natalya tapped out, not in agony, like oh my god, she just went, sod it. Actually,
I didn't like the fact that it felt.
After saying she would never tap out and she'd have to break her arm.
It felt as well like you had two submission moves that just felt like they were getting weakened the more that they were applied, and they were applied for great length as well. Like, there was only one time that it looked interesting, and that was when the sharpshooter was applied on the top turnbuckle, but then we were arguing that made no sense in terms of the rules, where we feel like
we were pretty unaware in the submission match. People sort of clarified in the comments that, well, if it's a submission match, then you can't really have a rope break because you can't have a DQ in it or whatever. But it was a wonderful looking spot, but it didn't really save what was in our opinion at least average match. Let's move on anyway.
Yes,
to Oh, this was wonderful. This was everything I wanted it to be and more.
So this is the thing, if the last match didn't knock your socks off, this one absolutely kicked you out your bloody boots, because Goldberg, it says here, and it just says, Goldberg defeated Dolph Ziggler. Defeated is the wrong word here, because destroyed, like decimated, like annihilated.
The funny thing about this is, if you went onto Wikipedia immediately after this match, before they had a time to clarify what time it was, did it just say squashed? Lol?
Yeah, squashed. Lol. 1 minute 50 of your time is all you will need to feel the best you can possibly feel about yourself. This was like happiness in a jar.
It was a nice twist as well, because Dolph Ziggler immediately hit him with a super kick, and we were like, what? But no, of course, he hit him with a couple of super kicks in there, and then Goldberg went, you know what, sod this, speared him, jackhammered him, 1, 2, 3, and we thought, well, that was nice, and that first spear was... all the ways we've booked it in terms of him just selling like he'd been shot by a gun. It was great.
So
but that wasn't the end, because Dolph Ziggler inexplicably went, didn't even hurt, mate. Well,
while he's riding around on the floor in
face me man to man. He just did, Dolph. I know that may have knocked you silly, but he literally just did. So he came down, speared him again, and left. And Dolph went, no, still didn't hurt, mate. Come on, let's have it out again. Come on, let's have a bare knuckle fight then.
But then we got the best ending to that, because basically he set him up, then he ran the ropes, bounced off, and then speared him again, and that was
we thought for a split second, it's like, guys, this is the Jeff Hardy Undertaker spot, and he's like, you got some moxie, kid. He helped him up, and he went, right, I can't put you down properly this time. He won. Great stuff, and we anticipate we'll see him in about 6 months' time or at the next Saudi Arabia show. Next up, we had the United States Championship match, AJ Styles versus Ricochet. Lots and lots of shenanigans, as you would expect, with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, who were ringside for this one.
The only club that counts, by the way.
Indeed.
The only club that counts.
There was a lot of talk on Twitter I was reading about this, where people were saying, it's kind of paced a little bit weird. There were some wonderful spots. That bit where Ricochet ran along the shoulders of Gallows and Anderson and then hit AJ Styles with Hurricane Rana will live long in the memory. But for me, even if you've got problems with the pacing, this was one of my favourite matches of the night. It was certainly early on, because of that finish.
Yes, the ending was utterly spectacular, having Ricochet jump up. He was dressed as Robin / Nightwing, by the way. He looked excellent. Did it at top rope, tried to flip over. AJ caught him and managed to turn it straight into the Styles Clash. And we were saying that was probably one of the few times where the Styles Clash looks effective, because again, it's a momentum killer style thing, but that felt like it had a real drive to it. And AJ retained and just... Then followed up with a massive beatdown to really hammer in the point that he's a bad guy and he can do amazing stuff, but he's a bad guy.
It wasn't enough to just pin him. He got up, and when Ricochet was getting up, he was like, oh, stand up after I've beaten you, will you? Yeah. Boys get him, magic killer.
Love that.
What'd you expect? Next up, SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bayley taking on Ember Moon. A few botches in this one. I think that's the overriding story about it all, which is a bit of a shame, because these two, I think, have worked really well in the build to this. And the match itself was okay in terms of the moves that they executed. There was just a few too many botches in there for people to really appreciate what these two women were doing.
You would understand it more from Ember Moon because of the fact that she's newer to the company and the work style. But Bayley, obviously being there as long as she had and has trained with as many people, and she was the sort of like person who was producing most of the botches in this sense. I don't know, it may be wrong of me to blame one person more than the other, but I would have thought that she would have carried it like the ring generals meant to do.
Yeah, it just felt like they weren't quite on the same wavelength for this. Regardless, Bayley hit a top rope Bayley to belly on Ember Moon for the 1, 2, 3 to retain, and unfortunately, no Sasha Banks. I'm hoping that's going to happen to be sorted on either Raw or SmackDown this week.
But don't worry, don't get too glum, because we got an absolute rip-roaring match, and I never thought I'd say this, between Kevin Owens and everyone's least favourite man ever. Sweaty man, sweaty cabbage face, patch kid face.
Sweating for his introduction.
Oh, man. So Shane McMahon came down to the ring, did his classic, best in the world. Big fan of that shtick. But it ends there. And then the sweat starts, and he becomes the slipperiest little weasel ever. But yes,
that's how they beat the Miz. He just sweated out of a cage match, basically.
But he wasn't alone, was he?
No, he introduced a special guest enforcer just to make sure everything went right. It was Elias, who just looks amazing in the sort of gym bro cut-off referee shirt, and I mean, he was there to make sure it wasn't just Kevin Owens beating the crap out of Shane McMahon for 15 minutes, and it was annoying, but it was annoying in the right way. Every time you were like, here we go, right, here comes Kevin Owens. I mean, there was a bit at the beginning that you were getting angry with Kevin Owens because you almost got counted out twice.
Right, this is the thing. Like, I love Kevin Owens as a character, but he does portray a real kind of stupid person. Like, the amount of times that he could have won but failed to. Like, remember the cage match he had with Braun Strowman?
Yeah.
And he just, like, could have won and he didn't. Well, here he basically nearly got counted out twice and then nearly, like, fell for a few other ploys. Like, Elias jumped up onto the ring apron, distracted him, and he turned around when Shane was right behind. I was like, just finish the bloody job!
But in the end, there was a wonderful story there, of course, with every time Kevin Owens looked like he's going to either get some offense in or towards the end looked like he's going to get the pinfall, either Elias distracts the referee or Elias pulls the referee out of the ring. And we had a moment where...
The chair.
Yes, where Owens attacked Elias, in doing so knocked down the referee as well, and got his hands on a chair that Elias had introduced into the ring earlier on to try and tempt Kevin Owens into getting DQ'd, and of course subsequently then quit the WWE. So he got this chair, was going to attack Shane with it. Elias got involved. Elias got a chair broken over his back basically, and there was a wonderful moment that I grabbed your leg and I'm screaming at the telly.
My kneecap felt like it was like being turned into dust at this point.
Because Owens had grabbed the chair, having beaten Elias down, and was about to clobber Shane with it, but the referee was just crawling back into the ring. Thankfully, Kevin Owens noticed that, got rid of the chair as the referee turned around to get rid of it, hoyed Shane McMahon in the bollocks.
Literally lifted him off the
It
floor.
was a lovely touch. Hit him with a stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens celebrated, and a little something to say as he was walking back up the ramp, didn't he? Are you listening?
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Pistols need to be holstered, maybe, because he's maybe not too happy with this position. But let's talk about the next match, which was Charlotte Flair going up against WWE legend Trish Stratus. Now, this was a match that I was personally a bit apprehensive about, because obviously we know what it's like seeing legends come back. We know that it can be slightly disappointing when they've got a bit of ring rust. Luckily, Trish seems to have had nearly all of that worked off, because aside from a few maybe small touches,
Charlotte had to carry her at points, didn't she?
But this was a very strong match, I'd say, from both of them.
Yeah, it was a weird atmosphere. We were expecting this huge pop for Trish Stratus when she came out in Toronto, and it was a bit like, yeah, and I don't know whether it just the card had worn people out a little bit, or they just sort of were a bit down or whatever, because it wasn't a long show, thankfully.
No.
But by the end of it, it didn't really matter, because they won them over. There was a lovely moment where Charlotte was clearly trying to eke some reaction by just going, I'm beating the crap out of Trish Stratus. It's Trish Stratus I'm beating up here. In the end, we had moments where I even bought, even though we all knew, I think, really, that Charlotte Flair was going to win. That when she hit Stratusfaction, I was like, this is it. Or when she had her in the figure eight, when Trish had Charlotte in the figure eight, and you thought, is she going to make a tap out to her own move?
Well, this is the thing, because like Trish is one of the very, very few people that her retirement match she won, didn't she? She won the women's title.
Yes.
So like it was. So she's always been the exception to prove the rule. So maybe we all thought that maybe she could come back and defeat one of the best women's wrestlers in the world at the moment in Charlotte Flair, and it would have been a big pop moment for her to be like, right, sail off into the sunset once more. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. Her stock isn't harmed. Charlotte's isn't really raised, I'd say, because of the fact it was just kind of like, it's a match. Like its gimmick is
got like 2-week build or whatever.
She's Canadian, like but still, it was enjoyable. I didn't hate it.
No, she's the queen. She'll continue. If you're doing something to keep her busy and keep her away from the title, this was it. And by the end, the crowd were really, really into it. Unfortunately, that means 2 local women submitting on the same night.
Yes, and unfortunately, if you carry on that slightly negative vibe as well, then we have to talk about the match that was Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. This was a match that, up until the end, I was gaining momentum for. I thought that there was a lot of back and forth. There was boom drops, there was missed troubles in paradise, and little like sneaky escapes in the turnbuckle that produced kicks. There was an RKO out of nowhere. I was getting really, really excited for it. Double count out finish.
Yeah, it was. Before this match, I was saying I think this could be the match that makes Kofi's WWE Championship reign, aside, of course, from when he won it from Daniel Bryan, because he's had some okay matches against the likes of Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler, but nothing that you're going to be like, whoa, I've got to go back and watch that. And I thought, right, here we are. Big stage, SummerSlam, huge opponent, great build. I've loved all the sort of callbacks to 2009 and the subsequent issues between the two of them.
We got the stupid in this match as well, which is great.
And it was just, it was nice. Randy sort of backdoored his way into taking control in the match, and then Kofi, got his fire and started coming back into it. Then, as you said, we had the Kofi coming off the top rope and getting hit with an RKO, and then he rolled to the outside, and you thought, this is great. It's, Randy thinks he's gotten him beat, but Kofi's rolled to the outside because he's using his ring intelligence. He's learning. Where are they going to go from here? Is he going to get a trouble in paradise out of nowhere? And then he was pulling Kofi up in front of his two poor kids.
Yeah.
And then the bell just rang as Kofi fought back.
It felt like that segment was just a prelude to something bigger, like to annoy him to the point where, using his kids to get the emotional sort of fire back into Kofi, but then nothing happened. And it asks you, the question is asked, what was the point? What was the point of this match? It felt like nothing was solved, nothing even advanced really. There was no big spot in it that everyone's going to be walking away going that was the match because of that. It just felt like a treading water match.
I think we all agreed that SummerSlam should be used to conclude feuds, not to be like, whoa, you better watch Clash of Champions now to follow up on this one. And as much as Kofi broke a kendo stick over Randy's back afterwards, the damage was already done there. They had a bullsh. I'm not going to swear. I don't want to get you in trouble editing here. A bullsh chant.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
It was frustrating, but luckily, it kind of felt like it was a crystallizing point to this. It felt that while the previous match was treading water and maybe keeping things status quo, Bray Wyatt viewing as the Fiend and seeing his entrance and seeing his music being played, honestly felt like the glass was shattering and everything was real once.
We all watched it like this, not just because it's quite a terrifying entrance, a terrifying character, but we were all there going, are they going to screw this up? Oh, please don't screw this up.
They could have, because it started off with the Firefly Funhouse theme, and I was like, ooh, don't use the cheery theme to have him coming down, because that won't
We thought his entrance theme was going to be, didn't we?
But it turns out that they'd done a metal version of his previous theme with the vocals saying, let him in over the top, came down with a lantern that was his own old head, complete with dreadlocks that had been formed into the handle, mouth stretched open with the light shining inside. Which
terrifying.
Honestly, this is why the pay-per-view got a PG 14, whatever it was, TV rating 14. It was, the entrance alone would have been enough.
It was straight out of a horror film in parts, because they didn't sort of just track him coming down to the ring. Yes, they had the Fiend, and thankfully they didn't have. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter, @TheFiend.
It would have been worse if they had the 3D image of him just being like, hey,
God. And we had some pyros as well, we need to mention that. But, you sort of lost track of him as he was coming down to the ring, and they went in and out of focus. And then he was just in the ring, and Finn Balor, who's wonderfully resplendent in white, just went, oh, bollocks, what am I facing here? And, initially he just murdered Finn Balor. He ragdolled him all over the place. He
clubbed him on the back that knocked him down so hard that it just was like, oh, that looked really stiff.
And we thought, oh, he's just going to hit him with the Sister Abigail and that's going to be it. But then
Finn got some offense back in, and we thought for a split second that this would be the turning point of the match that would actually sour us on it, because it's like, oh crap, the dream's over, guys. But it was only a mild bit of offense. It looked like it was about to slow him down, but it didn't at all. And then straight a reversal into the mandible claw, which is nice because we theorised that maybe the Sister Abigail move is going to be transitioned out in favour of this mandible claw to show that it's the last tie that's being cut. And if that's the case, then that offense was actually great for the storytelling purposes.
This is the way we all hoped it would go, I suppose. Look, the Fiend looks amazing. People were going crazy in the comment section saying, let's put him in a title feud straight away. I would...
Gotta pace it. You have to pace it.
Make the most of it. I think he's an incredibly hot character, and I wouldn't wait around too long for that. But you don't need to hotshot him in for the next paper, not for Clash of Champions, for example. He looked amazing. Finn did exactly what he needed to do in this scenario. He's going to go off. Hopefully he's going to come back in a few months and reunite with the club. But some wonderful stuff. And we move on to the main event of the evening, which I was not excited about whatsoever.
I'm gonna fold this up right now because the fact that I think that we're done with the notes. But I honestly think that when we knew that this was going to be the rematch, we weren't really impressed the first time round. The build to it has been, in short, crap.
Yeah, really good 2 weeks ago when he bludgeoned him, and then that awful promo on Raw.
And then the selling of the ribs, being like, oh, my ribs hurt a bit, oh, I'm going to still take you on, but I'm going to get my ass out. It's like, that just made Seth look so broken, and no one had any faith in him. And yet, after this match, we have both walked away, Phil as well, and everyone else here in the office have just gone, damn, man, do I believe again? Like, this guy's good when he wants to be good.
We were all sat here and we speculated about it all week and all weekend long about, can Seth Rollins save his WWE push? Does he have to turn heel? What's he going to do in this match? Yep. But it was arguably beat for beat exactly what he needed to do. He backflipped out of suplexes twice. He got a near fall really on from hitting the stomp. Yep. Then Brock Lesnar kind of took control, as we knew he would, and was just ragdolling him all over the place, hitting with...
You have to talk about the rib thing.
He had his ribs taped, of course, because he's got hurty ribs. Yeah. And Brock Lesnar, after brutalising him for a bit and suplexing him all over the place, just picked him up via the rib tape and swung him round, as Adam Nicholas would say, like an empty tracksuit. Yeah. Chucked him all over the place. We had Seth Rollins reversing some stuff on the outside and chucking Brock Lesnar into the ring post. And then he set Brock Lesnar up on the table, one of the commentary tables outside, hit a frog splash. That hurt your ribs. Yeah. Straight through the table. Thankfully, the referee in this match, unlike the Kofi-Randy match, when we're not having any countdowns, sod all that bollocks.
And then he hit another one, didn't he?
Yeah, he gets back into the ring, hits another one. Brock Lesnar looks like he's out. No, recovers. Looks like he's going to F5 Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins reverses it. Super kicks him a couple of times, I think. Stomp. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is your new Universal Champion. And it's almost the same, maybe not quite as much, but almost the same mood we had coming out of WrestleMania of like, maybe things are going to be all right with Seth Rollins.
There was a real genuine excitement. The crowd were very mixed when we first started.
Yes.
And but as soon as we started getting the early finishes, this sort of very, very specially devastating moves, like you were saying, like outside the ring.
Just skip to the good bits.
It felt like it was watching the highlight package, and that was the best thing about this match. It was no fluff. Even when Brock took off his gloves and you thought, oh, we're just going to get another half, it didn't actually play into the match. No. It was taking your expectations and subverting them. But we have to give credit where credit is due, especially to the one and only Paul Heyman. His face, his selling, his posing, it is the best thing about Brock Lesnar outside of the actual beatdowns.
Yes, Paul Heyman, what you need to do now, after you've, mourned the loss of Brock Lesnar, is come into work tomorrow or today and rip up whatever speech they write for Seth Rollins, because this is going to go one of two ways on Raw tonight. Look, his opinion has been slightly changed from when we were going into the pay-per-view, considering the way it's been tarnished over recent months with, ooh, look, he's shagging Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
He needs to make a real statement on Raw tonight and to salvage it. This was a great step in the right direction, but it can all be undone in one promo.
It definitely can. Here's hoping that the WWE actually have listened to the fans for once. One can only pray, and that Seth will take on a new role with this Universal title reign compared to his previous one. As Sidgwick and I were talking about, they are so close to ruining him.
Yeah.
This could be the saving point. But yeah.
All in all, a good pay-per-view in terms of the fact that, certainly one of the best ones in recent memory where you left being like, hey, that wasn't too long, didn't have too many low points really, and didn't leave a sour taste in the mouth.
I'm kind of more on the fence where I think that this was an average to bad pay-per-view that was elevated to a just above average one, because I just feel like I was expecting more from this, but maybe got a bit less. But that is absolutely fine, because going into this week of wrestling, we now know that The Fiend works. Seth Rollins can work. No other title changes took place, but maybe that's fine for the moment. And here's hoping that the Iconics get their rematch pretty soon.
It's not going to happen. It's all good.
It's all right, dude. But there we go. That's what went down on SmackDown on SummerSlam 2019. Let us know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to follow us for more wrestling, film, video games, music, UFC updates, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself and
at Adam Wilmore for myself. And make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from too.
We hope that you enjoyed this. We hope that you will have a great week, and we'll speak to you soon.
I'm off for a swim. Bye!
Bye! Oh, yeah. Aloha me, hello.